to know. Like, so then, like, apart from, like, you know, the live shows, like, how did your involvement in the band change since you joined? Because I think you joined in 2016, did you? I think it was
Right.
2016. So so that's like 4 years ish. So how has your involvement in the band changed, whether it's writing more songs or you know, or whatever, you know, what has changed this 4 years?
Oh, actually, I look a bit weird. Is it better if I? Yeah, it's way better, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's a bit, yeah, better.
Sorry.
No problem.
Daylight
That was
is
fine.
always like
It's fine.
the phones can't handle daylight.
Yeah.
Right. I think in the first few months or the first year, it was basically I just tried to, you know, do my job right and just really learn the parts that Ivo played and also composed. I mean, he composed a lot of stuff and recorded a lot of stuff, and it was also actually a really good thing to meet him, like every once in a while, and you know, have a little chat or something. So I tried to do that, and then slowly but surely, I was like, okay, not trying to be disrespectful to that, but just slowly trying to maybe here and there, you know, put my own touch on it. Just what came naturally, like maybe in a live setting. And then we did the second Evocation album, and that album was basically, for me, it was really like just recording what was required by Kriegel, or what he composed and what he had in mind. So regarding that album, it was also kind of like just but it was a session for me, you know. It was just do the job. And then later on, when we started talking about recording a new metal album, and when we ended up releasing Rebirth as kind of like a very early upcoming, you know, an upcoming single, or how to say this right, pre album single, whatever, you know what I mean.
Yeah, pre-album single.
Right, pre-album single. That's when basically I started working much closer with Kriegel. So he had this idea that he wanted to come up with a song that is kind of like a, you know, kind of like a declaration of power song, kind of, and like release a song that would say like, this is Eluveitie, that like the metal side of the new Eluveitie, and this is what we're capable of. And I remember I was just, you know, toying around with some sounds and some drum grooves, and I was thinking of something a bit breakdown-ish. And I was just I just thought this could be a mock-up or something. It wasn't my intention to go like, this has to be in the song or something. I was just, hey Kriegel, I just did this. Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you think it's cool or maybe not. And then I remember getting this voice message from him saying like, this is so cool, this is super great, and we have to build the song around this. And in kind of like in parallel to that, he was working on riffs, and he always composes guitar riffs on the MIDI keyboard. And this is always like, oh my god, because everything is super fast, and there's a lot of, you know, he doesn't check the shapes like he comes up with on the fretboard. So you're like, really? Like, did you see the meme? Like 2020 has been like for a guitar player, and then you see the hand that is like crazy on the fretboard.
Yeah, right? Yeah, actually, that's so true. That's so true.
It's really true. And this is how you feel sometimes when you get when you get like MIDI composed guitar riffs from Kriegel Glanzmann, actually. And then you have to make it work, and you go like, okay, I can do this. And so this is the Rebirth was actually kind of like a cornerstone for me, working with Kriegel. So and this then kind of led to Autognathos, and those writing sessions were super intense, and for me I mean, that was an amazing time, because basically, as always, I mean, no question about that, Kriegel, he always has a vision for a next album, and I mean, he is Eluveitie. He's the master behind the concept, and he's the creator of this whole band and also brand of that we have today. But I felt that he was really open to my inputs or to my riffs and my ideas and my sketches that I had and that I was doing at the time, and then I think we kind of we started getting a bit back and forth, and I ended up finding a very comfortable place where I just offered him ideas and stuff, and I could sometimes he would go yeah, this is cool, but can you make it a bit more like that, and can you make it a bit more like that, and this is, I think, a workspace where I felt really comfortable, so I could go, okay, I think he wants a bit more of an In Flames kind of touch, or maybe he wants a bit more At the Gates, or maybe he wants a bit more what's the name of his favorite band, the chainsaw Swedish death metal band, Entombed, of course. He loves those bands, the early Swedish death metal bands, and knowing that, I started thinking that way, and I started trying to compose that way, so I could offer him options for riffs and songs that he could pick and make them help him complete his vision that way, kind of. That became my goal, and for Autognathos, after Kriegel, of course, he's the main songwriter, but after him, I have the most credit, the most credits on that album. I wrote a lot of riffs and stuff, and so that was a really intense writing period that we had together, and it was a great experience, and yeah, I'm excited how this will be, how it will continue, and yeah, but this is kind of how my position kind of grew over the last 4 years, I would say.
It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? Being being called up by this band that's so huge, and then all of a sudden having so much responsibility to carry, and to help the band push forward. I mean, the involvement is real. It's not just going there sessioning and just recording whatever they want, but to actually make an actual contribution to the band's sound, and that sound will literally help the band move forward as well. It's such a I'm sure it's an amazing position to be in for you.
Absolutely, and it is, and yeah, I treat it with a lot of respect also, because it's like you say, there's a lot of fans all over the globe that for them Eluveitie means a lot. Maybe our music helped them through tough times or whatever, and the melodies they connect them with all good memories or whatever. So I think it's a thing you have to treat with respect, and I always a lot of times when I think about writing or composing for Eluveitie, besides thinking or working with Kriegel and offering him those riffs and stuff, whatever is needed, I always, or a lot of times, I think about, okay, what would the Eluveitie fan like? My goal is always to write songs that make the fans go, this is the Eluveitie sound, that I'm in that world now, because for me, the key or the key magic feature that this band has is that maybe it comes really apparent on Slania, the opening few minutes of that album. It doesn't take long, and you kind of get sucked into that world where you can see the mountains, you can see that rough landscape, yeah. You can see, you can picture yourself standing next to that little girl holding the sword.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and it has a huge power, and I think I try to keep that in mind at all times when I work for or compose or write for the band. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing feeling, and I'm really thankful also to Krigel, because he kind of like let me in on his inner, you know, circle, because he's the band for me, kind of like. I mean, it's 9 people and everyone has an essential part, but when it comes to writing, it's him, you know.
Yeah. I think it took a lot of hard work and, you know, perseverance to actually make a band into a brand, and I think that's what, not to say a lot of bands lack, but it's just something that's so hard to do, because like, the unique thing about Eluveitie is that it's become a benchmark where, you know, if other bands start playing music like that, a bit of Celtic music, a bit of folk, you know, with all the different folk instruments, people will immediately say, "Oh, they sound like Eluveitie," and that's kind of like how that kind of proves how successful the band is as a brand and not just a band. And you know, it's amazing how you know, Eluveitie has kept that up, or you know, throughout all the years. I mean, because the band literally goes way back, and I remember, I think I was like 16, so this was like, say, maybe 15 years ago, when, you know, burning songs into CDs was still a thing.
Right, right.
And then, you know, my mates and I would literally, you know, play Ines Mona and songs like that on the CD. And then sometimes, because I mean, because, you know, if we don't burn the CD well, we get skips in the CD and it gets annoying. And so those were the good times where we literally loop the albums over and over and again. And I think it's amazing how the band has still kept its position in the world, because we now live in like a very fast-paced world, in a sense that people no longer have the patience to even maybe sometimes listen to a full song. They literally skip to see if there are like good parts of the song. But back then, Eluveitie, you know, started an era where people had no choice, not to say no choice, but people actually enjoyed the full album. And, you know, when a song finishes, they know what the next song is. And then the song after that, and the song after that, you know. And I think that's kind of what we're losing now, because of, you know, obviously the world is moving in a different direction. It's not a bad thing, but I just feel to a certain extent we are losing a bit of that magic when it comes to listening to a full album. So like a full length now, sometimes people don't listen to everything like how they used to back in the day, because skipping and picking is so convenient now compared to like before. I mean, if you go further back, when it was tapes, it was even worse, you know, like when you want to repeat the song, you literally have to go back all the way to that song, you know. So that was really when people took full length seriously. And it's amazing how, you know, the band still manages to keep its position and to churn out records that people actually really appreciate. And I think it's all thanks to it being a brand already rather than just a band, because not everyone would, you know, look into every song with that much detail. And I find Eluveitie is one of those bands that, you know, still has the ability to make people actually listen to the songs and not like, you know, skip, you know, because, you know, the excitement builds with each song. It's more like storytelling, if that's the right term to use. So people, you know, when people watch movies, they don't go to the end. I mean, I bet some people do, but then when it comes to music, a lot of people tend to skip, but not. I don't personally think people would do that for Eluveitie's songs, because there's like an actual sequence to the song, and, you know, things build up, and like you said, you literally feel that you're in that world when you're actually listening to the song. So I think that's a very unique factor that allows Eluveitie as a band and a brand to stand out in front of, you know, so many bands that's actually available right now.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Yeah, and I believe so too. Yeah, I think it's a great quality of the band.
Yeah. Yeah, well, congrats, and like I'm sure I'm
Thank you.
as thankful as you are to be in the band, and I'm sure Eluveitie is thankful that they have you in the band as well. I mean, I'm sure in this 4 years, you know, your contributions to the band has been phenomenal, and um, yeah, and I'm sure they're as happy with you as you are with the band.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. No, I mean it's
We'll call the rest to verify later.
right. Don't let me know. Don't let me know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, well, yeah. So that's one thing that I really wanted to talk about is, you know, your involvement in Eluveitie, and so congrats, and you know, thank you for all the good work that you've been doing for that band. So that we're just gonna hop into your recent project with Fabienne, and that's like we can't not talk about Illumishade. It's like the thing now, no? Everything's about, you know, the tribe.
Right.
Which tribe you're in.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you think? Oh, you did.
So I'm